Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last session, we talked about element binding. We saw how can we use element binding to transfer the data of an element which is part of a JSON model, bind it to the table control to a simple form control. So whenever you create table control, multiple elements of your JSON gets come and attached to the table as a records, and these records represent multiple elements. Each of the element then can be connected to its child control. For example, in this case, we are doing the child control as simple form. So the whole element is bounded to the simple form control. The children's of simple form control, however, further gets the data from the parent control, which is simple form in this case. So now what we want to talk about, we want to talk about XML model. So by far you have seen the JSON model. But before we move to XML model, one of the important requirement which somebody would ask you is it possible to convert the employee name to capital letter? Guys, is it possible to have capital letter in all employee names? So imagine this data is coming from your your customer table, which is KNA1 table from the SAP system. Now, can you tell me, would you go and change all the records in KNA1 to bring the employee name in capital letter? To bring the employee name in capital letter, would you go and change all records in KNA1 table, the name of customer to capital letter? And tomorrow, if manager say, again, I don't want in capital letter, I want in small letter, would you go and change the data again and again on daily basis? Whenever requirement change, sometime capital, sometime small, sometime camel case, daily you cannot afford to make changes to database table, right? This is the reason we need some mechanism which can convert this data on the UI in capital letter at runtime. Did you understood the requirement point one, or all of you understood the requirement? Requirement is to make employee name in capital letter, and we don't want to change the data in the data source. We want this to happen at runtime. How can such requirement be achieved? So for that reason, we have concept of formatter. What is formatter? Formatter is a function. Okay, as the name suggests, formatter is a function. So formatter is a function, guys. So we need to use formatter concept here in SAP UI5, and a formatter is a function which is called before the data gets bind to the view. Before the data gets bind to the view, this particular formatter function gets called. So basically, if you look at once again our example of data binding, on the one side we have the model. This model has your data. So let's say employee number or employee name, and it has some value above. Now this value we have binded to the input field on the view control. So in the view, we had this input field which was getting the data from this data property in the model, right? Isn't it? So the data whichever was there was directly coming because of binding as part of view, and also it was changing back because it's a two-way model. Now guys, before this data is pumped to the UI, before the data is supplied to the UI, I'm saying, hey, don't supply this data directly, pass through a formatter function. Okay, pass through this data for formatter function, and whatever is the output of formatter function, whatever is the output of formatter function, that goes into the binding, that goes into the UI, that goes and makes set to the UI level. So this is what formatter function does. Formatter function, some input goes in, some output comes out. Input output, that's it guys. You, what will be your input? The data which you are want to supply to the UI. That first goes into the formatter. Formatter now can do formatting, conversion, whatever you like, you can do that. And then final result will come out of formatter that gets attached to the view, and the view is then going to display this data on the UI. Is this clear, everybody? What is formatter? It's a function which is called before the data gets binded to the view and can be used for conversions, data manipulations, transformations like uppercase, lowercase, all that. String operations you can apply in the middle. Lot of things you can actually do. So before the data gets binded to the UI, the formatter comes. What is the syntax? Where do you put it? You will put it in the view. Now introducing the syntax number 2 once again. You remember the binding syntax where we use the control, input control. We use the value property, right? So usually you have your control, UI control. You have a property of that UI control equals to curly braces. Inside that you're putting your binding, isn't it? That's what you're doing. So here you're putting your path directly. So instead of that, now you have to use the second syntax, path colon your address, your actual property address of the JSON property. Basically that's what will come, comma formatter colon formatter object name dot method name. It's a function, guys, so you have to give the method name, the function of the formatter. That's what you must do. Clear, everyone? Object name dot method name, that's what you must do when you're calling it. All right, so that's the syntax of the formatter. Okay, now so there is a question, Anubhav, as you said, we in the view we should never put a function. We are not putting the function in the view, we are invoking this function. Try to understand, we are invoking this function, like when you putting a press for the button. So what you were doing when you putting press for button, you were saying on click. On click is what? You are going to write a function in controller, isn't it? Aren't you invoking the event handler method here at front of press? What is this on click? It's a function which is implemented in your controller. That's what you are doing. You are just invoking, you're just invoking the function which is a reusable function for formatting your data. And guys, this object name should start with dot. Dot indicates that it's an object available in the controller. So you have to declare this object. I will show you in the system in a minute. Don't confuse. And then call this method. So we are just invoking it. We are not writing a functionality here. Try to understand. It's just like invoking this guy. Just the way you're invoking on click event handler, we are also invoking the formatter function. Okay, so let's go ahead and see that. So let's take the same example. I want to convert all these employee names to capital letter. So how do we do that? Let's come back. I'm going to create a reusable module for the formatter. So I'm going to come down, watch out your folder structure. Let's add a new folder and name it as uh, formatter. You can name it anything. You can name it Spider-Man, doesn't matter. Okay, this name you can put Spider-Man, it's okay. Okay, good practices, put formatter. And now inside this, usually we also try to keep the name as util. Util stands for utilities. Okay, any reusable functionality which is out of the scope of controller and independent of controllers, every controller can reuse, it comes under util. So usually this is the folder name, we put utilities. Inside that we put a file called formatter, and this again can be anything. Let me name it as lifesaver.js. Okay, you can name it anything, not necessary that you put it as a formatter only. You can name it anything of your choice, guys. In my case, I had put it as lifesaver.js. Click on OK. And now any JavaScript file, what does it starts with? Anyone? What does any JavaScript file starts with? Scaffolding template. Very nice. Let's come and put a scaffolding template. Define. Is this clear, guys? Scaffolding template. Let's do it more like professional way. And there you go. Just put little bit of enter to make it look like beautiful. And now inside this we will return, and that's this should return collection of functions. So I will say convert data, convert names, and what this should do, this should receive some name, some value, whatever value input. Let's say I say input, and whatever what I want to return out, I will say return. Whatever you are inputting, I'm just returning to uppercase. So whatever value you're giving to me, I'm just returning it to the uppercase, provided if input is supplied, provided if you give really me a good value, not a blank value. If you give me an input value, this is how you can check in if condition, if the value is not initial. In JavaScript, this is a equivalent syntax of above, like value not initial. The value has something inside. This is how you can check in JavaScript. Just put if and put your value. That's it. It will automatically check if it has something or not. So if it is has something, please convert that to uppercase and return that value out. That's your formatter function. You can have collection of functions over here like this. So you can have, let's say, convert to boolean. I want to convert some value to boolean value. So whatever input you will give me, I'm going to convert that to a boolean value, and I can say if my input is triple equals to, it's a string value it will give me. If it's a string value true, return true, else return false. That's what I'm doing. Convert to boolean. Yeah, return true, return false. That's what we are doing. Awesome. So likewise, you can put lots of string functions, concatenation, splitting. Like I want to put join text. This is another function. This function will receive two argument, string 1, string 2, and I want to join these two, return string 1 plus space plus string 2. Are you guys clear? You can put lots of different functions, reusable, consumable functions inside of this formatter. This is an altogether a different class actually, in which you can put collection of functions, and these collection of functions will be reusable by whom? Who will reuse these functions? Every controller, every view in your entire project can consume these reusable function. Are you guys clear? The power of reusability. Do not ever mistakenly put them in controller. They are not dependent on controller. They are reusable utility functions. Many times in your company you want something to convert to uppercase, lowercase. Yeah, so all that thing which we do typically, we all should do it in reusable functions. It's a reusable function library you created. Okay, and now let's come back and we are going to use this. So yes, this is how project in every UI5 project typically we do that. Whatever I am teaching, I am automatically incorporating standards. So when you look at any standard UI5 project, you will easily understand after the course. Easily you will, you will thank me for this understanding, because almost very close to real time, very close. Almost everything you will understand in standard SAP delivered project, everything. Okay, coming back. So now I'm going to create an dependency on this module. So let's bring it on the lifesaver. So oft slash fin slash account receivables slash util folder slash lifesaver. That's my object name, and I can say lifesaver. And now what I'll do is I will declare a global variable over here, and this global variable I will assign this object lifesaver object. So let me create a global variable called formatter. Any name you can keep Anubhav also, doesn't matter. Okay, the good practice however is to put formatter colon. This lifesaver object is initializing this formatter variable as a variable. It's an object, actually it's an object of your formatter. Okay, now in this object you have functions actually to choose from. So I've used formatter, and now what I'm going to do is I will just go back to the view, and I will tell the view now. Here you see this employee name. So what do? We will now call, as per the new syntax which I just told you, path, address of the data, formatter, and your formatter object name which you created just now with dot formatter. So dot is important. It indicates that you're using an object from controller. Then your formatter dot method name. That's what we're going to use. Let's come back. So here we use ename. We put a path, and then we put a formatter, and we say dot formatter dot, what is my function name? My function name here is convert names. That's my function name. So dot object name which you had created in the controller, initializing the lifesaver, passing the lifesaver object to the formatter global variable, address that global variable with the dot before this, dot the function name. And now here your ename of course will go in, because that's your value which gets supplied over there. And yeah, this is ename correct only. So what will happen at runtime? System will pass this employee name value to the formatter. The formatter will then produce some value. What value this particular formatter function is producing? Anybody? What value a formatter function is producing? What it is happening inside the function? It's converting your string to capital letter. So whatever data it produces, that data finally goes in the value property of your input field. Is the flow clear, guys? So before the binding takes place, the data which you have will pass through the formatter function. Okay, just like in your household, you have a water tank on the top of house. You have a water tank on top of house, and there is a pipe connected. Now suppose there is some impurity in the water. Let's say there is some impurity in your water. What will you do, guys? What will you do, guys? If there is some impurity in your water, what will you do? You will add a filter on top of it, right? So whatever water comes, it pass through this filter, and you always get a fresh water out of it. Same thing is happening here. The employee name value is first passing to the formatter function, and then from the formatter function, this is going back to the value of the input field. So this value always pass through the formatter function. Is that clear, everybody? What is happening behind the scene in a formatter function? Are you all guys clear? Formatter function, what exactly is happening as far as the formatter is concerned? Awesome. So now let's go back and test. So this ends the need of you to go and change the main data, the data set which you had earlier, the standard data, and voila, you can see all the employee names got converted to capital letter. Is that clear, everyone? This does not change the data in the model. It just changes the data at runtime before it's displayed to the view. In the model object, if you look at the data is still in the small letter. S capital and Onia in the small letter. That's the data which is already there in the model. Model data also doesn't change. It's only for the view, for the screen. Before the data goes to screen, it passed through the formatter function. It doesn't change in the model. Okay, that's what is happening. All right, so that's about formatter function. Now there is a question, Anubhav, how can we pass multiple values to formatter? For example, this currency, right? For example, this currency, how can we pass two values and join them? Why not? So one way I showed you guys in last class to join the currency and salary is very simplest way. This is simplest way, okay, easiest way. But if you want to achieve this, if you want to achieve this with formatter, can you achieve this with formatter? Why not? You can. So this I am telling you now, second technique. So it's up to you. It's my duty. Once again, I'm repeating, don't confuse here. It's my duty as a trainer to teach you everything. It is up to you to choose what you want. It is my duty as a trainer to teach you all variations of code, all possible options of code. Don't ask that why I have not used this way, why I've used that way. It's my duty to teach you all the different techniques. It is not that I am deciding what you should use. It's up to you to decide what you want to use. It's my duty to teach you all the possible techniques. All right. So next time you may think, Anuba, why have you not used this way, why have you used this way? It's my duty to teach you all the variations. It's up to you to decide which one you want to choose. If I am at your place, I will use this. Simple. I will not use formatter for joining salary currency, because this is easiest way of bringing both the data together. Yeah, easiest way. I will not use formatter. Why would I do that? Why will I make it complicated? I won't do that, right? So it's up to you. All right, so let's come back. I'm going to comment out this line of code so that you guys can refer this later and show you the same, doing same thing with a different syntax. So let's come here. I'm going to just put curly braces and say path. Now since you want to pass multiple values, you have to use parts and array. And parts is a keyword, guys. It's a keyword. Formatter here is a keyword. You can't change them. You can't put Spider-Man in the place of parts, in the place of formatter here. Yeah. And dot object, once again, dot function. Which function is joining two values? It's join text function. So let's use that. And inside the parts, we will pass two values now. So two values are we passing here now. Inside the parts, we can pass like that 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, whatever you want, multiple values you can pump it. And now let's put path and just say path, and we will put first the salary and then we'll put the currency. That's it, guys. We are done. This is how we can pass multiple values to the formatter function. How many values am I passing? Two values, 1 and 2. We passing two values to join text method. The join text method is going to join both the values and it's going to come out. That final value will go inside the text property of your text control. Same flow, it's just that two values now we are passing. Let's come back and refresh and test it. Absolutely same result for end user. There is no change in the final result for end user. User won't even know that we are using formatter or we are using direct binding. So it's up to you. Which option do you think is easy? Which option do you think is easy? Which variation do you think is easy? Of course, the first one, you're just putting simple binding and getting the output. This is also an option. It's my duty to tell you all the options so that in future, if you see somebody putting this code, you should not get confused. Okay. All right. Now there is another technique, guys. Somebody was asking, Anubhav, can we get symbols? Can we get symbols instead of currency name? Can we get here symbols? Why not? SAP UI5. SAP UI5 is a framework, is a very rich framework. It allows us to use ready to use formatters for currency, date and time, unit, etc. So guys, ERP software, SAP is the world leader in business software. They are all doing all kind of stuff, and especially in business you have many times to do currency conversion, date conversion, formatting of currencies, dates and all that. SAP is already sensing it, and they have already provided inbuilt formatter as part of UI5. You can utilize these formatters and produce the value of your choice based on your need. Okay, that's the beauty of SAP UI5. So let's check it out. What is that SAP providing? Can you please Google it up? So please tell me which are all the how to format currency in SAP UI5. Yeah. So just an example, guys. You can see here the value 8700. How do you write 8700 in India? How do you write it? You write 8 comma 700, right? This is how you write in India a formatted value. Correct? In Europe, however, you do this as dot and this decimal as a comma, right? This is European format of writing currency. So we should not worry about it. Let SAP take care of this kind of formatting, right? Many times in your company, in future, you may get this kind of requirement where your company, your manager will come and ask you, hey, can you please format the value like this? So built-in formatters are there. So you can just check here, currency formatting SAPM table. You see a lot of examples are there on internet. It's flooded with examples. So you can see SAPI model type currency. Yeah, so you have lots of examples on internet, and you see the complete list of model types. You see here currency, format options, number format, constraints, minimum, maximum. There are a lot of these options which are available in SAP UI5 to do currency formatting and all kind of formatting which you wish to do. Now many of them are dependent on kind of something called JavaScript code. So you got to use JavaScript code to be able to do that. And you can see in XML also they have put it. So type as currency, format option, currency code is false. Yeah. And they are once again using formatter, parts, amount and currency, type is currency, format option is currency code is false. Okay. This is what they are using. Another option is they are using this formatter, passing their own currency formatter, and then when the currency and amount is passed, inside that they are using some JavaScript code to be able to format this. So let's do this. So let's come back. You can see we are calling already join text formatter. I don't want to use join text. I want, instead of join text, I want to say format curr function. Let's implement this format curr function. So in this I'm receiving the currency amount or salary amount and currency key. That's what we are receiving, and here we will just go ahead and create the function. So you can see here we have something called SAP UI model type currency object, and then we are just doing format value, change internal type is blank. Right now they are passing here. So this is what is happening. So amount SAP UI model type currency, new object of SAP UI model type currency, and then format value. So let's create that var o currency formatter. This is a built-in function in SAP UI5. SAP UI model type currency and o currency formatter dot format my salary value. Okay, so this is the change. What is change? Change is an array. In this array you are passing both amount and currency. So let's add this array here. This is my array. Inside this array I'm passing both my salary and currency, and then this is what it produces, and this will be my final result. So let's create a variable final result. That's formatted, and I will just say return my final result. All right, so that's a built-in SAP UI5 class to format currency into a desired format. So based on currency, whether it's euro, Japan yen, yuan, Indian rupees, whatsoever, it's going to format the data. It's going to give you the final result, and that goes as an output. That's the beauty of formatter function. Let's come back and check it out. So there you go. Let's come back, refresh. And something went wrong. Let's press F12. Looks like something is not right. Console is our best friend. And now you see O currency format dot format is not a function. Okay, it's saying O currency format is not a function. So maybe I think I've done something wrong. SAP UI model type currency. Let me check if I've done any typo. So we can also go and check in UI5 SDK. Ideally, this one should work. I got it. Amount one dot format value. I have to use format value, guys. Function name is format value, not just format. That's the function name. Okay, so this is the correction. Let's come back and I'll refresh. And oops, nothing is coming. Something is wrong. So at least we see the output is coming, which means it's passing through the function. And now it's time to debug and check it out. What is that we are missing? This is final response. Why the final response is not coming out? Let's debug this.
I think you have commented the salary and currency.
Let's check it out. It's here. You can see we are passing text, salary, and currency, two arguments to my function. And this is my function. We are receiving both the values. Ultimately, final result goes out. We have not commented anything. Okay, something is wrong. We got to check that. So let's put a debugger. You can come back, press F12, go to sources, and just come down to the util lifesaver and put up a breakpoint in line number 22 and just refresh one more time. So when binding is taking place, that is the time this function gets triggered automatically. And we can debug if the value is coming. So now you see the value has come. For first record is 8500 and currency is real. That's the value which has come in. And just say F10. And now we have got currency formatter object and formatter value. Salary and currency is going in. What comes out is looks like an error. You see here, data type blank could not be found. See, this is an error in the console. S type name must be a non-empty string. This is what it is expecting. So I think it's an object with curly braces, not just a blank here. These are formatting options. So we will pass it blank object, and I hope this should now work. Let's refresh. Or maybe we have to check still the documentation on SAP UI5 for checking the formatting options. So here they are passing it blank. I don't know. I wonder how come this one works fine for them, because blank should not be expected. Show measure formatting option is string. Yes. So we have to tell that formatting output data is of type string. So that you have to put it string here. Save this. Let's come back and try. So this you have to refer to the documentation or the blog only, because otherwise we cannot. And now you can see, guys, System is automatically formatting your data in the desired currency. Are you clear, guys? How to use inbuilt currency formatter? See, system is automatically formatting. So like this, many times in your company, you want to do date formatting, time formatting, dd.mm.yyyy, or dd slash mm slash yyyy, or mm slash dd slash yyyy. So all these cases you can handle with the help of built-in formatters in SAP UI5. And if you want to go symbolic way, you can again further go and check out the option formatting options. So let me go and check out on UI5 SDK itself what are all the formatting options for getting the currency symbols rather than direct values. Yeah, so that's what we want to see. So let's go back to this documentation, main documentation of SAP UI5, and I would like to explore formatting options. What are all the formatting options we have for currency formatter? So let's go to currency formatter and you see formatting options, constraints, and let's check it out. The formatting options, number format. Not sure where to check these options. Format value gives an array. That's formatting format value method. And internal type is string only. There has to be a way, guys, to get the symbols rather than formatting options. I just directly Google it up. You can see formatting option, minimum fraction digits and all these things you can put it. So show measure is false. So this is another way directly we can do it without using the formatter function. Here they are directly doing the currency format option, show measure is equals to true or false. You can put it. So let me try this code. I'm gonna take this up, go back rather than using our custom formatter. We go directly to the view, and instead of this custom formatter, we are going to use this type as currency formatting option, show measure equals to false. Let's try if this works. And this gentleman goes out of the game. I'm gonna save this, come back and refresh. And it's just formatting, it doesn't bring the dollar symbol and all. And I make this measure is true. Show me the measure as true, and they should now display the measure. I hope so. Yes, it's displaying, but it's not still displaying the symbols. So let's see how can we see the symbols. But before that, just put the old code. Okay, you can anyway do that. So show measure is true. What are all the other format options? So let's Google it up quickly. I hope so we should get it. SAP UI5 formatting options, display currency or something should be there. Formatting options. There has to be some option, guys. Show measure is false here. Something related to symbols for sure must be there. Okay, I'll check it out and get back to you. Vaishali, please note down this as a question for weekend session. I have to find it out and get back to you. Where can we display the currency? So there is definitely an option to display this as a currency. So you see here they are already displaying euros, dollars. You see symbols are coming up. So how are they coming? There must be some way. So
Get
locale data,
symbol, some
you get
get
currency
currency
symbol.
symbols.
Something
This
is
one.
there. See, locale data get currency symbol. Something is there. I have to still check it out. This one is looks little complicated one, but there's also an easy way. Very easy way to do that. Okay, there's a very easy way. In fact, it's pretty straightforward. I think, let me give a last try. I don't even want to put this show measure, and also format options, directly just put it as it is. Last try, guys. If it doesn't work, maybe I have to check it offline, but it's very easy. It comes naturally. Doesn't have to put much effort to bring that up. It's still not bringing. It's always putting this as the currency code itself, but there is definitely a way to bring this up, an easy way. I've seen it very easy way. Okay, we'll check this up. Okay, let's move on and now talk about XML model. So this is about the JSON model and the format of functions, how we can apply different formatting. Now, what about XML model? So instead of JSON model, now we are going to use XML model, in which our data source data will
Hi,
be
Anubhav.
XML. Yes, please.
Anubhav, I'm sorry. Sorry for the interrupting. I have one doubt actually. In
Mhm.
the formatting options, we are using lifesaver file which is available in util, right?
Right.
But nowhere we did not mention. I mean, anywhere we did not mention that utilities lifesaver path. Can you just explain how it is taking that
All
code
right.
which
Let's
is
come
available
back.
in life?
We have done that. I think you were not there in the initial part of the session.
Uh, I was there, but I was expecting something else. I mean, somewhere we will mention path or something. Okay. Okay, where we mentioned this one in the main
Is
control
this
view.
clear at least? Lifesaver to this to this, and setting the object formatter. Now you remember this word.
Uh,
Will you remember this word?
thanks.
Now this word, when you
Yes.
take it, go to the view, and in the view, come where are you applying formatter? Do you see that word?
I did not see the above sentence, above syntax actually. That is what the confusion. Now it
Oh,
is a
okay.
little bit.
All right.
Thank
This
you.
is how the things are getting connected. Awesome. Cool. So let's move on. So now what we will talk about is creating XML data. So let's create an XML data. So as you all know, XML was originally created for the purpose of data transfer. And we are also now saving some XML data. So my data.xml, and that's an XML file. So let's start with XML version equals to 1.0. This is how typically an XML starts with. We have data. Oops. It should end also with question mark, I guess. Yes. And data slash end of data. That's your XML super node. Okay, root node of XML. And I think this is not required. This much is it's required actually. Yeah. And now inside the data, I'm creating employee structure. I can create an employee table. And then in this employee table, you have repeated records. Each record has employee name, employee number, employee salary, employee currency. We have smoker. We have marital status. We have gender. We have rating. These are all the properties which you had put inside a JSON. Same properties we are putting in the records of employee table. Now, how many records do you want? Let's say I want 5 records. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had put 5 records, guys. Are you guys clear? How are we creating this XML? So employee structure right now, let's say not making sense. I'm removing that up completely. All right. So I have got now my records over here, and inside these records, I will be writing the data. So let's go ahead and write the data, fill these records with some some sample data. So I'm going to come back, just put here the value as 9,000. Employee name is Riaz Ahmad, and I put salary as 80,000 Real. Smoker is false. Marital status married. Gender is male. Rating is 4. The next one comes is 9,001. Put Veronica. Salary is 8,700 euros. Smoker is true. Single. Female. Rating is 4. 9,002. Richard. Salary is 7,800 US dollars. Smoker is false. Single. Gender is male. So basically, we are preparing the test data for XML view. XML model. Okay, this is going to be my XML data for XML model. Rating is 3 and 9,003. Rohan, 22 lakh Indian rupees. Smoker is false. Married. Male. Rating is 5. 9,004. Smitha, 4785. JPY, false. Single. Female. And rating is 3. So that's my test data, guys. I have added some records. You can observe the records are 9,000 something for employee name number, and in JSON everywhere it was like 1,000 something, right? So here it's 9,000, there it was 1,000 something. So that is one differentiating factor I gave it for the test data for us. All right, so that's about our data XML, and now it's time to create the XML model. Anyone who will tell me? Let me choose one of you. Let me pick up one of you and ask. Shirish, are you there? Shirish, can you please unmute your line? Shirish, please unmute your line. Shirish, can you hear me? Shirish, please unmute your line. All right, please tell me those 3 steps to create model. What are all the 3 steps to create model, Shirish? We cannot hear you. Shirish, am I audible to you? Looks like he has some audio issue. All right, let's move to someone else then. Maybe Shiva, are you there? Shiva, can you please unmute your line? We cannot hear you, Shiva. Please unmute.
Yeah, hi Anubhav.
Hi, what are all the 3 steps to create a model object?
So first we create the object
Mm-hmm.
and then we load the data into the object.
Very nice.
And then we make that aware. We make that model aware to the.
Awesome. Wow, Shiva. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the
Thank
answer.
you.
And yes,
Thank
you're right. 3 steps. Create the brand new model objects, load the data, set the data to the model, and make the model aware to the app level. Same thing applies for XML model also. Just like you did JSON model, similarly, absolutely same. Only thing changes what? What changes, guys? Any guess? No one? No one can guess? What changes? Data type changes. Earlier it was .json. You can observe here was .json data, and now it is XML data. Are you clear? Yeah, that's what we happen. So now let's go in to XML. Remember the file path, and now let's go to the models.js, and I'm going to create another method. I'm going to call this method a create XML model, and I will say also lage haath ye bhi kar lo, create resource model. Okay, and I'm gonna write here creating a new XML model. So let's add a dependency. Now this guys, you see this SAP UI model JSON model is a dependency, right? It's a dependency. So whenever you're dependency, it's a good practice to put it on the top. So let's put the module name SAP UI model JSON model. That's one dependency on JSON model. Similarly, I have another dependency SAP UI model XML model. Similarly, I have a third dependency SAP UI model resource model. Clear everyone? So I'm putting all the dependencies. I have not yet explained you about resource model. So let's right now park that up. So don't worry about it. Just understand the syntax. Syntax remains same guys for everyone. Okay. Syntax remains same for everyone. So var o model. We're going to load the data as usual, the way we are doing there. I'm going to pass the path and return that model object out. Similarly, let's also do for resource model. So that's what we are doing. We have created 3 model objects for our choice. Are you guys clear? No matter which type of model are you using, the syntax remains absolutely same. Now forget about resource model and OData model at the moment. We are now talking about XML model. There is no change here, you see. It's JSON model, it's XML model, load data from the path, return the model object, return the model object. This is a reusable model method to create an XML model. Come back to the controller. Let's create this model object. All right. So var o model XML equals to o my models dot create XML model. Let's give the path. It's models slash mock data slash my data dot XML this time. That's your XML address where the XML data resides. Are you guys clear how to create XML model object? It's pretty easy and straightforward. Now in last class somebody was asking, Anubhav, is the syntax change when you using XML model, resource model, JSON model? No guys, it doesn't change. It remains as it is, but only one catch is there. Only one small catch is there. That catch is in XML. When you observe, we have repeating set of rows. Okay, we have repeating set of rows in XML. In JSON we did not had that. Okay, we had rather an representation with the help of arrays. However, in XML we have repeating set of rows. So when you're doing binding with the table, okay, when you're doing binding with the table, you have to be little careful that you should include this row also in your binding. So how does the binding change? So let me set this XML model as a default model for the app. You see, instead of O model, now I have made XML model as the default model. This is going to be my default model. You see, it is going to be our default model. And now when the binding comes into the picture, you can go to the view and just add slash emp tab slash row. Are you guys clear here? Because there are repeating set of rows, just add this extra row which indicates a repeating set of row inside the table. Is that clear everybody? Is this small piece of change clear? Nothing else changes. Nothing else changes guys. And fortunately, luckily, I had kept the property name same so that you don't have to change much of code. Otherwise you have to adapt to these new properties accordingly. I just kept the employee number, name, and all these things same actually. Yeah, so this is what I've done. salary, currency, they're all same. So everything works. Only catch, again, catch is this checkbox, and this rating indicator will be a catch. Why it will be a catch? Rating indicator and checkbox will be a catch for why? Because rating indicator expect a number. It expect a number format, number value. And what do you think the checkbox selected property expect? What type of data type this selected property expect? It expect a boolean. But what happens is when XML is giving the data, all these data which you passing is considered as string. Okay, all the data which XML model pass, it considered as string data. Okay, it is considered as string data. So that is the catch. This could be one reason of failure when you run this now. And console will be your best friend. Console will tell you, boss, this is not a boolean value, or this is not a number value. Okay, so let me show you. I will go back and I will refresh. Now it tries to pull the data from XML model, and you see it's kind of distorted. Why distorted? Press F12 and see what happened. You see false is of type string, expected a boolean property for selected of element. Are you guys clear what's going on here? The property values which XML is supplying, these property values of XML are treated like string value, and system is unable to appetite this string value for those properties. So what do? We can again use the power of formatter to convert. This is the reason I put that another function called convert to boolean. Ye dekho, this I put it intentionally for that purpose only. Convert to boolean. So let's come back, and now I just go back to the view, and in the smoker here we will put path smoker comma formatter dot formatter dot my function name convert to boolean. Okay, this is what we had put, so that this data can convert to boolean. Now right now I'm commenting out the rating indicator. Save this up and make sure that there is no other problems. Yeah, it all looks good. Let's come back, get ready, let's refresh. Voila, can you see 9,000 Riyaz Ahmed? Do you recall that this was my XML data? Are you guys able to recall that this was our XML data? Are you able to recall that the 9,000 series was your XML data? Yes or no? Right? And you see smoker is also checked. This is an indicator that our formatter working fine. The guys, the beauty of this, watch out. I select a record, the data populates at the bottom. This is what element binding, it working naturally just like it works with the JSON model. ये इसके लिए भी automatic चलता है. It doesn't matter which model do you use. All the concepts what you learned till today are all applied naturally guys. Are you all clear guys? All these things which you learned till today, element binding, you see formatter is also working, currency formatter, they're all working. You see the conversion formatter is working, converting to uppercase, everything working naturally guys. So exercise for today, you have to bring the rating indicator also. Okay, you have to bring rating indicator. The second exercise will be that you have to now implement a flip exercise, flip model between XML and JSON. Okay, you have to do flipping between XML and JSON. So table should get data from XML, from JSON, from XML, from JSON, that you have to do. So flip model exercise between XML JSON model, and then you should also implement the feature of rating indicator with by solving the issue. Okay, so these are all the two exercise for today. Exercises: implement the rating indicator which I commented. Okay, implement the rating indicator which we commented for table. Second, implement flip functionality between XML and JSON model now. Okay, XML and JSON model. So what was our learning today? We learned formatter function. We learned XML model. We saw there is no difference between both model. The way they work, only data type is different, and also just the way it supplies the data as string data by default. On top of it, we observed that the both functionality wise, the syntax wise, it all remains same. There is no change. Even the element binding works naturally. The path concept, the binding concept, everything works naturally the way it was working in JSON model. I hope that also answered today your question, Anubhav. How these models does the syntax change? No, it doesn't change. Only thing changes as per your test data. As per your test data, the smallest thing will change. So second exercise you didn't understand. You remember the flip model exercise where we did between two JSON models. I had created two JSON files. Do you remember that? Two JSON file on flip button. It's flipping between these two JSON data. But now I am saying flip between this JSON data and this XML data. When you click on flip button, it should pull the data. So if I have 9000 series, if I click on flip model button here, you should plug JSON model and should bring the data as 1000 Sayyed and all. That should come. Again, you click on flip, it should get 9000 riyals and all. That data should come. Again, you click on flip button. I want to see data from this sample JSON. So it should flip between JSON data and XML data on click of this flip button. How do you achieve that? That's what is the exercise, second exercise. Okay. How to use property of simple form after table row selection. I did not get you, Venki. Can you please unmute and ask your question properly? After row selection, how to use property? I did not get.
Hi, Anubhav.
Yeah, hi.
Once a table row is selected, the simple form data is automatically populated, right?
Right.
So if I want to use this employee number property somewhere in my other calculations,
Mm-hmm.
basically my question is this employee simple form data is dynamic. So which property I need to use for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you remember when you select a record, what do we drive? Do you remember what did we drive yesterday when we select a record? Anyone? What did we drive to select a record? We drive the context, and then finally we drive the address where the data is, right? Do you remember this address? S path is the address of the record where the data is. See the address. So in right now it's XML. So you see the address slash emp tab slash row slash 2, right? That's your address. Now, what you can do, use this address to read the data of the record, which was set to the simple form. So you can say, come back. I want to say sap.ui.get model, get core dot get model, default model dot get property. Pass here this, press enter. Voila, this is your data, isn't it?
but my question, Anubhav, this property is dynamic, right? First time I have selected row 2 and second time I have selected row 3.
Yes, you select. Okay, let me write down this code, entire code here in the controller. On selection of record, now it should print the data in console for you. Okay, it will print the data for console. So let's do that. So I will say this dot and pass the path here. So every time you select now, you will see your data. All right, let's come back. Why do you need to read the data specifically from input field? Read the model, read the context. You don't have to play with input fields. Okay, you have to play with context. Click here, see the data. Go to console, see the data. Any record you click, that data is printed on the console now. So you click any record, 9002, see the same data is going to your input field, right? You change the data and then you read the context, you're going to get same data because it's a two-way binding. You make it like 999999999999999 and enter. You see, that's a two-way binding. Model and UI both are in sync already. Talk to the model in your controller. Don't talk to the UI. You will make your life complicated if you talk to. See, guys, in ABAP, are you working in ABAP, Venki?
Yes, Anubhav.
Yeah. So what do you do in dialog programming? Do you talk to screen or do you talk to the variable which is supplying data to the screen in our program?
Yeah, we talk to the screen.
No, we never talk to the screen. We talk to the variable. Do you talk to internal table or do you talk to the table control in dialog program?
Oh, okay, internal table.
Obviously internal table. You talk to the variable which is supplying the data to the UI. See guys, UI is just needed from user point of view. For a developer, the lifeline is model. Model is your lifeline for developer. All the data residing in the model. Talk to the model. Don't talk to the UI. You can talk to the UI. You can have input field, this value, whatever I enter, let's say something I enter. I can talk to this input field also. I have possibility to talk to input field. How? We can do that. You can get the object of simple form and then read the data. This is also option number 2. Again, it's my duty to teach you everything. It's up to you to decide. This is the idea of simple form. Get the control. Get the control object. So let me go to debugger. So you can go to debugger. Just go to debugger. And now we are in debugging. I can say this dot get view dot by ID. I passed ID of my simple form. Enter, that's my simple form. This has content. I can call get content. This gives me all the UI elements. These many UI elements I have: label input, label input, label input, label input. We have that pair of label input. And now I'll get the first item, which is my input field dot get value, whatever value of employee name I set, 870 is now printing up. This is option number 2. You can go complicated way or you can go simple way. Simple way is using the model, using your data from the model which is going to the UI automatically, or directly talk to UI element. Talking to UI element is risky because if somebody changes this ID tomorrow, your code is susceptible to high number of maintenance, high amount of maintenance. But if you're talking to model, try to be isolated from IDs. Still confused, Venki?
Yeah, I have follow-up question, Anubhav. So SPath is local object to row selection method, right? If I want to access the same path from different method
Anyone,
applicable to
how
this
do you
event.
create a global variable? Anyone, how do you create a global variable? You guys are not watching properly the sessions. We have seen how to create global variable. I showed you for O core how to create. Yes, very good answer. You can create this. You see this one line number 450 which I taught you, creating a global variable which can be reusable. Create an S path. Who is stopping you as a global variable? And then
Got it.
this dot S path. Why are you setting here locally? Set this dot S path. ये variable नहीं चाहिए मुझे. आ जाओ. आ जाओ दोस्तों. Now can't you access this S path in any other method? You can. Who is stopping you? You can. Suppose now on click of the flip button, I want to print this. Alert kar do. Just check it out. Let's select a record and see what happens now. So I first select a record. It's gonna call the S path. So I'm gonna check this 9003. It's It's going to select this up. You see it got loaded, and now I'll call the flip model. Can you see the S path? कोशिश आपको करना पड़ेगा. You have to put the code, guys. If you want me to do coding for you, that's not possible. I cannot support each one of you for your company requirement. You have to try these things in the system. Infinite combinations, guys. Infinite combinations. Just focus on concept. Don't focus on example. Examples are just the medium to understand concept. But once you understand concept of address, binding, how to make address, that's it. Game is over. You can build any application of your choice. If you just understood the address concept, the best way to remember these things is note down everything with your own hand. Buy a notebook. I told you in the session number 1, buy a notebook and pen with you and note down every single thing via the notebook. And when you are confused, turn the paper, go to the page where you have written the definition of global object, and then you will be able to recall it. You have to read it again and again. One time reading is not sufficient. You have to read it again, practice again and again daily. That's when you get it. Try out different experiments. First, try to implement exactly what am I doing. Exactly. Once you implement that exactly, after that you experiment. What you guys do, you first start experiment, then you look at my code. No, that's an incorrect way. That will loosen your confidence. So first get the plain vanilla case working. Okay, get the plain vanilla case working, get the straightforward case working as taught in the class, practice that much, and then on top use your imagination. Use your imagination to try out different things. You can do lot, guys, lot. See, if I am at your place, what I will do, I will first try whatever my trainer has taught me. I got that output, I achieved that output. Now what I try next, I will see, can I also put these extra fields? We have lot of other fields, like we have smoker, gender, and status. Can I put these three fields also in my simple form and extend my simple form with those three fields? Yeah, can I do that? Can I have three more extra fields, smoker, gender, and marital status, and then populate that data like this? Yeah, something of that sort. Instead of checkbox, can I bring this as a toggle button? So when I click on the button, the value also change back here. Yeah, can I do that? Now can I do also something of that sort, where I have this simple form initially editable. I enter some value inside this, yeah, of my choice, and then what I do is I will have a plus button here, I have a add button. On click of that add button, on click of that add button, I want automatically my internal table, which I have actually my model. In that model, I have a EMP tab, right? In that EMP tab entity set, can I insert a new record dynamically? If I insert a new record there in EMP tab, that record will naturally be added in the table because it's a two-way binding. You work always with model. Whatever changes happens in model reflect directly on the UI. Can I do that dynamic adding? Can I implement a toolbar at the top of the table? Select a record and then delete button in the toolbar. I click on delete button. Will it delete this record? I delete this record. I find the address of this record and delete that record from my model. That will also should delete the record from front end, because any changes in the model reflect on the UI. See, infinite number of examples on top you can try. कोशिश आपको करना पड़ेगा. कोशिश आपको करना पड़ेगा, मैं नहीं कर सकता. If you think I can go and write a certification exam for you and you will get cleared, it will not happen. Exam you have to face, guys. You have to face the exam. You have to satisfy your manager. You have to satisfy the requirement of your company. That only you have to do. I can do it, no problem, but it's impossible for me to handle every 1,000 users. In my each batch, I get 50 plus students. If I start doing for each one of you, it's impossible. I still have 24 hours. I also have 24 hours in my life. It's impossible for me. That you have to imagine and put an example. You can build infinite number of example, and I have seen those enthusiastic students in my life, in my career, those who are very energetic. They first example and practice plain vanilla case. Understand the concept first. After understanding concept, try out different variety of things and keep trying so hard. Try every possible way to get your output. Look at the internet, look at the books, look at the blogs, and finally, once you fail, I am there anyways for you. I am there backing you, supporting you, standing besides you. What are you afraid of? But if you not practice, I cannot do much. Life is going to become very challenging for you in upcoming days. We still just 50% of course. The remaining 50% is going to be even more challenging if you don't remember these concepts, if you don't practice, if you don't remember funda fox, if you don't look at my ppt almost every day, if you don't prepare notes. You have to give time to me. If you give time to me, I will double the impact of this training for you. But you have to give time. रोज सोचते हो कि आज मैं पढ़ूंगा. When you listen to my lectures, you get energized. You promise yourself that okay, today I will learn. But the moment you enter into the office and come back out of office, you have no energy left. Where is that enthusiasm gone, which was there in the first demo session? Where is that gone? I am not doing copy paste. I am teaching every single line of code. Where is your energy gone? You have to spare some time for yourself. Spare some time, give some time to yourself. That's more important for your growth. If you will not give time to yourself, company people will just use as a puppet. Your manager will keep using it. जो ज्यादा काम करता है उससे ज्यादा कराया भी जाता है. If you say everything yes in your company, they will overload you for with the work. At least for 2 months you say you are learning this one, give some relief for work. If you think you cannot say this to manager transparently, then don't say for everything yes, because this is going to be an important milestone for future. SAP UI5 is the technology which is at least going to last for next 10 years, and it's booming right now in the market. Moving to the next question, what is the difference between dependencies and a class? So dependency is about relationship between two classes, and class is about a module which you relate with another module. So class is the name of the dependency, and dependency is not a class, it's a relationship. So here this is the dependency which is actually a class. You are adding this relation to with the main controller class with this lifesaver class. These two classes are connecting. How they are connecting, what is the bridge? That bridge is the dependency that you are adding in the scaffolding. Unit number 11, where we learned about scaffolding template. That's where we have clearly told about it. Modules, they are the classes actually
Mm,
for you in here. Modules and class same in JavaScript. Yes.
I don't know how to know that which is the class and which is the dependency. Like how to differentiate between them.
Everything is a class. Everything is a
So,
class.
so all class you can put it in
These are all
dependency.
classes. Whatever you created, that's also a class. Any .js file is a class. This is also a class. This class is inheriting from other classes. All the other things it is inheriting. It's inheriting these dependence, basically creating association with other classes and inheriting their objects, and then we are using these objects. So everything is a class here. All these modules are all classes actually. One class talking to each class. That's how the whole software is designed. There's a question here, very important question. Can we, or how can we use model object in formatter? Guys, we cannot use model object in formatter until you pass that. How do you pass it? You have to pass the model object to the formatter. Okay, and that is only possible via the controller. So you have to call a formatter function like this, formatter, this dot formatter dot some formatter function you call, and in this you pass the argument as model object. So this dot get view dot get model, this you pass it as an argument. Only via controller it is possible. Little heavy dose, but since you asked the question, I have to tell you the answer. This dot formatter is your formatter class object. Dot formatter function, whatever formatter function you have in the name of the function, inside that you can pass this model object like this. From the view you cannot. From the view you cannot. Little heavy dose. Those who understood, very good. Those who don't understood, don't bother about it right now.
Anu, can you give a use case for this? Like, why do we need to read model in the formatter? Because you know how we read it from the view, right?
We don't need to actually, but it was just a question asked to me, so I have to answer. We don't need it actually. Controller is sufficient enough to do model operations. Controller is sufficient enough to do model operations. We don't need to, but just in case if somebody would need to, I don't know the use case today, but maybe, I don't know, there are infinite number of use case. I cannot guarantee that I know all the use cases. People come with so weird requirement to me, so weird requirement.
Anubhav?
Mhm. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm Tamjit. Yeah.
Yes.
My question is, we are now working on XML view. Okay.
All right.
Inside the XML view, we are using now JSON model and XML model.
JSON model and
Yes.
yes, correct. Right, sir.
Which model actually best practice or using in further?
All right. Coming to that, answer is already hidden in the previous class PPT. Let me go back and explain you. There you go. This is the answer. Slide number 54. I've already told in real time which model is used the most.
XML model, JSON model.
0%. कोई नहीं use कर रहा है. I have seen more than 60 plus Fury apps today. And 80 plus standard Fury apps today. 60 तो custom देखा है मैंने. 80 plus standard Fury apps. 25 plus analytical Fury apps. 15 plus OVP apps. 10 plus ALP application list viewer, ALP. APF application path framework, 10 plus apps. Fact sheet apps, 25 plus. None of the app till today I have seen using XML model. Neither custom nor standard nor any special type of application. They don't use XML model at all. But it's my duty to teach you these concepts just in case. You never know. Infinite number of combinations, you never know. They don't use this. JSON model 100% apps, resource model 100% apps, OData model 100%, or I would say 80% apps they use OData model. Just if you want to create a static application, no backend communication, you can just use JSON model like we're doing today. We don't need any server at this point. But when we reach to OData, that time we would need some server, because that's when it has to talk to the ECC system or your ERP system or S4HANA or Suite on HANA system. That is the time it has to talk to it. That time we need it. Okay. All right. Guys, many answers are already hidden in the PPTs which I've covered at front of you. आंखें खोलने का जरूरत है थोड़ा सा. It's my humble request, guys. The training is going to be beneficial for you. Definitely. I'm not saying it's useless. But if you want to double the effect of training, you have to join hands with me. You have to come hand to hand together. तब मजा आएगा. Make it challenging for me, guys. Make it challenging for me. Today I don't feel challenging. Today I don't feel challenging with you guys. Make it challenging. Give me the maximum challenges in this batch. That I also always remember you guys that there was a batch number 921 where everybody was so energetic. They were kind of difficult for me. That was the most energetic batch I had. Make like that for me. Participate with your maximum energy. Let's see what happens. I want to see that energy. I feel somehow that energy is gone. The energy which you guys have showed me in the demo class, that energy is not there. And I understand, I completely respect that you are busy with your life and you really have to cater to your company's need, which I am also not saying to compromise, because your job is first. Okay, your job is highest important, but at least try to see if you can manage couple of things and manage your time in a way at least you can spare some time on daily basis to this. All right, with that, it's a wrap on today's class. See you tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day. Goodbye.